Our story starts with Dr. Will Rodman, a determined scientist seeking a cure for Alzheimer's through a breakthrough drug called ELZ-112. Working for the biotech company Genesis, he believes this drug could regenerate damaged brain cells and potentially reverse memory loss. Bright Eyes becomes his first test subject to show incredible results, displaying remarkable intelligence beyond what anyone imagined. But just as Will is ready to reveal the success to investors, something goes horribly wrong. In an unexpected outburst, Bright Eyes goes wild, breaking free and causing chaos in the lab, only to be shot down by security. The project seems over, but as Will investigates, he makes a shocking discovery. Bright Eyes had just given birth to a baby chimp. Against the company's orders, Will decides to take the young chimp home, naming him Caesar. Little does he know, Caesar carries the effects of the ELZ-112 in his DNA. As Caesar grows up, Will begins to realize the true extent of Caesar's abilities. Caesar is curious, highly intelligent, and surprisingly sensitive. He forms a special bond with Will's father, Charles, who suffers from Alzheimer's. Will's father, played by John Lithgow, is a former music teacher, and their relationship is both touching and bittersweet. Caesar learns compassion from Charles, who finds comfort in his company as his condition worsens. As Charles's symptoms worsen, Will decides to secretly administer ELZ-112 to his father. The drug works wonders at first, bringing clarity and cognitive abilities back to Charles. Caesar witnesses this transformation, seeing how the drug can heal. As he grows older, Caesar begins to comprehend more of his world, and the love between him and Will's family deepens. But Will faces an ethical dilemma. His actions, though well-intended, risk exposing Caesar and Charles to unpredictable consequences. Years pass, and Caesar matures into a young adult, his intelligence rivaling that of a human. But despite his abilities, he begins to struggle with feelings of confinement. Being kept inside the house and yard restricts his freedom, leading him to question his place in the world. One day, Caesar acts to protect Charles from an aggressive neighbor, resulting in an incident that turns their peaceful lives upside down. Caesar's actions, though meant to defend his family, are misinterpreted, and he's forcibly taken away to a primate shelter. Caesar, once free to roam Will's home, now finds himself trapped in a cold, unfamiliar cage. The walls are high, covered with thick bars that make escape impossible. He clings to the hope that Will return for him. But as time passes, that hope begins to waver. This place isn't home. It's a prison. Caesar, used to freedom, feels the isolation closing in on him. The loud clangs of the facility's gates, the cries of the other apes, all of it is a relentless reminder of the life he's lost. Caesar quickly learns that in this world, he's seen as nothing more than another caged animal. Even the caretakers treat him with indifference and disdain, their laughter and mocking glances stinging as they pass by. It's a stark contrast to the love and respect he felt with Will. As the days stretch on, Caesar begins to see the other apes not as strangers, but as companions in suffering. Their isolation mirrors his own, and he realizes that, like him, they too yearn for freedom. The spark of leadership within Caesar begins to ignite. This experience changes Caesar. The facility's walls, which once symbolized fear and hopelessness, now spark something new within him. As he watches Dodge torment the others, Caesar begins to understand that he's stronger than his cage, stronger than his circumstances. This place may confine his body, but his spirit remains unbroken. Isolated in a harsh, concrete cage, Caesar's world begins to shift. Each day, he watches the other apes, listening to their grunts and cries. Slowly, he starts to realize his situation is not temporary. He's been abandoned, forced to live like the very animals he once watched from behind glass. But something inside Caesar refuses to let him accept this fate. In the corner cage next to Caesar sits Rocket, a larger, aggressive chimp who asserts dominance over the other apes. Each time Caesar comes close, Rocket responds with a challenging display, baring teeth, pounding the floor, his eyes filled with distrust and anger. Rocket doesn't see Caesar as a friend. To him, Caesar is just another rival in this confined world. One day, after another taunt from Rocket, Caesar has had enough. He doesn't cower or shrink away. Instead, he moves to the front of his cage, mirroring Rocket's movements, asserting himself with a quiet but powerful presence. For the first time, Caesar's response is not a fear, but a challenge. In that moment, Caesar's awareness takes a leap. He's no longer just another caged animal. He's beginning to understand his own power. This interaction with Rocket marks a pivotal shift. Caesar sees that even in captivity, he can still assert control over his surroundings, over his identity. Through this defiant act, Caesar gains respect and begins to understand his influence. He realizes that his voice and actions matter, that he has the power to affect those around him. What started as frustration and loneliness is evolving into awareness, and Caesar starts to see the other apes as allies rather than strangers. Caesar's developing awareness and the incident with Rocket awakens something deep within him. Meanwhile, back at Genesis, Will has developed a more potent version of the drug, YLZ-113, which he brings to Caesar. This new formula not only strengthens Caesar's abilities, but sparks a massive shift in the shelter's dynamic. With his abilities enhanced, Caesar starts teaching and organizing the apes, using his intelligence to subtly train them in teamwork, preparing them for something far greater than mere survival. After enduring harsh treatment in the shelter, Caesar's patience and trust in humans start to fracture. He's no longer the gentle, wide-eyed chimp who grew up in Will's home. Instead, he's a leader, seeing the world through a new lens of strength and purpose. Dodge, the cruel caretaker, constantly abuses his authority. When Dodge tries to intimidate Caesar, it's the last straw. Caesar has grown too strong, too aware, to tolerate such cruelty any longer. In a defining moment, Dodge steps too close, and Caesar seizes the opportunity. This one word, a clear, deliberate no, shatters the silence and defies every rule Caesar has ever known. Dodge stumbles back, stunned. For the apes watching, it's a revelation. They're witnessing a new kind of power, a voice of resistance. For the first time, Caesar has spoken, breaking through the barrier between man and ape. His simple act of defiance isn't just a rejection of Dodge's cruelty, it's the birth of his leadership. Caesar's transformation is complete. He's no longer simply defending himself. He's fighting for a new future. With the apes united under his leadership, Caesar initiates his boldest move yet, a carefully orchestrated breakout. Caesar has spent countless days observing every detail of the shelter, from the caretaker's schedules to the layout of the cages. He knows that this plan needs precision and trust. Caesar has trained his fellow apes to use their combined strength and intelligence. He starts by securing keys from an unsuspecting caretaker, unlocking his cage before silently handing the keys to the others, a spark of excitement building among the apes. One by one, the cages open. Each ape joins Caesar, forming a small, silent army. Maurice, the wise orangutan, stands beside Caesar, a loyal lieutenant. Rocket, the once hostile chimp, follows too, showing how much Caesar's leadership has transformed them. Caesar knows that a direct confrontation could alert others and ruin their chances, so he leads his team around Dodge's post. With each step, Caesar's plan takes them closer to freedom. Caesar's plan isn't just about escaping. It's about empowering his fellow ape. He has planted hope in them, hope for a life beyond cages and cruelty. Every cautious step they take is a testament to their trust in him and their shared dream of freedom. Each ape is now united in a cause bigger than themselves. What began as a single act of rebellion has grown into a movement, and Caesar is ready to lead them into a world where they are no longer prisoners, but free beings. Once free, the apes head into the city, their newfound intelligence guiding them to navigate the street. Caesar leads them, his vision set on securing a new future for his kind. This is just the beginning of Caesar's impact. What started as a single experiment has transformed into a revolution, one that could change the course of history.